Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizons. In this episode, we will cover a mix of integrated issues: the economy and the stability and the political situation, because the three are interconnected and they are an integral part for the progress of any country. So that's why we are hosting in this episode one of our distinguished professors in University of Khartoum, Professor Manzoul Abdullah Manzoul. Manzoul Abdullah Manzoul, he was Dean Faculty of the Peace Research Institute, and now he is Dean of the Scientific Research in University of Khartoum. So he has a broad spectrum about the situation, the political situation, the mixed with its effect on the economic situation, which is directly connected to it. Welcome, Professor Manzoul Abdullah Manzoul, in this episode, and we hope we'll cover as much as we can this issue.
Thank you very much, Omar.
Okay, Professor Manzoul Abdullah Manzoul. As you know, now people they started getting alarmed. It is something very alarming that after 4 or 5 or 6 months of stability in the value of the currency, the Sudanese pound compared to the dollar, or let us say compared to the dollar, and the parallel market or the black market all started to wither away and started, if things continued on the same pace as it started, they could have left this profession of dealing in dollars to any other profession. But now the gap is widening between the parallel rate, the black market rate, and the official rate. So do you think to what can you attribute this? This is an indication to something not good. It's a bad indication. It's a setback, actually. So what can you attribute this sudden rise in the foreign currency value compared to the Sudanese pound?
Well, I think you just said that we have witnessed 5 or 6 months of stability in the value of the Sudanese pound. We have also seen a trend of inflation coming down over the past few months until October last year. And what happened to the currency or to the economy generally is not an economic problem. Mm-hmm. This is a political problem.
Political problem.
And I have kept saying that Sudan doesn't have an economic problem. Sudan has a political problem. What we are having is the manifestations of a serious and deepening political problem that reflects on the economy in a negative way. The factors that led to the stabilization of the economy and the stabilization of the pound in the face of the dollar was courageous political steps that was taken by the government of Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok, that gained the support of the international community and that convinced the international community that the Sudan economy is on the right track and that the country was going to benefit from the HIPEX initiative that would have pardoned our debt, which we know is quite huge. We are talking about $60 billion as accumulation of arrears and so forth. So again, just to emphasize this point, what we are having is not an economic problem. What we are having is a serious political problem that negatively reflects on the Sudanese economy. And we all know that the financial institutions like the World Bank and the IMF suspended the programs that they started as a result of what happened in October 25th, 2021. And they said it very clearly that unless there is a political change that allow the civilians to leave the government. They're not going to resume the programs that they started, including the issue of debt relief. So what happened was a direct result of a political crisis that the country is going through.
So this is correct, because the direct effect of the changing governance after the 25th of October is the stoppage or the complete cut off the financial aid which was flowing for quite some time, and the IMF and World Bank, they commended the speed recovery, the start of the speedy recovery of the economy, and if let go for 2 years, it could have changed the whole picture of Sudan. But also, Professor Manzoor, one of the small things which aggravated all the situation, also the small conflict, like, for example, the blockage of the East lifeline, and now the North lifeline. For the East was closed for 45 days. So what happened? The shipping lines, they put congestion rate, or they put exceptionally high rate for goods coming to Sudan. A container, we used to have the container comes from China, for example, down to Port Sudan up to about $5,000. Now the container is almost $20,000 for the container, just to cater for the congestion due to the blockage of the port itself and the lifeline. Could this be a reason also, which is a reflection of the instability of the country?
Yeah, to some extent, because the blockage of the port happened last year, way before the change of government that happened in October 25th, 2021. So the blockage of the port, yes, it definitely has some effect, but not very much, and cannot be compared to the change of government that happened. Because at the time, there were always alternatives to Port Sudan. And I think the government started to contemplate using Egyptian ports. And I think some goods already started coming through the Egyptian port of Ain al-Sukhna.
Yeah.
We have been following this.
Yeah.
But the problem is that with the political impasse we are having, there are no other alternatives.
Yeah.
The government could not have any other alternative, and that is why we are experiencing this very speedy deterioration of the pound. And let's not forget the fact that the economy of the country really needs international support. We have seen that during the months that the international community was supporting the country directly, by injecting money through the so-called family support program, which was supported by the World Bank and some of the Western government, and also the steps that were taken to pardon our debt. And all this was augmented by the fact that the expatriates started sending their money through the official channels. So in a short period of time, the central bank was able to collect a sufficient amount of hard currency, And up to October 2021, the reports were saying that the central bank was having more than 1.5 billion USD, which is a significant amount. Yeah, that the central bank has for a long period of time. So again, the blockage of the port certainly has some kind of effect, but the biggest effect was the one brought by the change of government that happened in October 25th, 2021.
Change of government.
Yes.
Yes, but also another very important issue. All governments failed to address this issue of the exports. Sudanese exports. Sudanese exports, they have two big problems. The first problem is the infrastructure, the poor infrastructure, one. The second is exporting raw material. Failure for governments, all governments, to do some work, effort in industry so that they can transform or add value to the raw material instead of, if you remember Dr. Hamdouk, when one of what he issued an emblem, one of his slogans, that no export of raw material without adding something to it, adding to it. But now, plus the other factor which is also related to the instability of the country is smuggling. Now smuggling become commonplace. So there is a real bleeding of the economy of the country by losing its dear resources in agriculture, in mining, in minerals, without getting the. Can you tell us?
Yeah, of course. You know, the export sector is going through a lot of problems. It's one of the very chaotic sectors of the economy. There don't seem to be any sort of credible regulation that's going on. Some people start saying that there are foreigners who are allowed to buy Sudanese products, raw materials, using our local currency and exporting it. The government doesn't really seem to have a grip on the export sector.
Yes.
The government really isn't doing any credible, work or taking any credible steps to curb smuggling and other malpractices around the export sector. There are a lot of taxes and tariffs, that discourage people to really engage in production of products that could be exported. Given the weak stand of the pound, the Sudan export sector could have really benefited a lot. But as you rightly mentioned, that there are a lot of things that need to be done, and the government wasn't doing these things. And I think what was happening recently in the north, the barricade that the people in the northern state were doing, exposed a lot of problems around this export sector. The Egyptian traders who are taking advantage of the situation, exporting raw materials, buying such materials from the Sudanese producers using local currency. The government seems to be doing very little to address this problem. And it's ironic that people in the country seems to be more interested in combating smuggling than the government itself. And one of the very serious things that people are saying openly, and surprisingly the government is doing nothing about this, is that the government itself is involved in smuggling. This has now become a public issue, There is no secret about it.
Yeah.
And as long as the government isn't saying anything about it, for a lot of people, this is, a confession that the government might actually be involved in this. So this is the problem with the export sector.
Export. You reminded me of something. One of the issues, one of the important issues about the exports, the failure of the government to control and put restriction on the private sector on the export proceed. Export proceed, when they get the money, Bank of Sudan gives allowance about 30 days. 30 days they have to either sell it to others who want to import, or to. But some firms or some people, they fail to comply with this ultimatum of 1 month. They get their proceed, and it stays for more than 1 month in in their accounts. Not only this, before that, now this will also come back. It will be revived. You know what? Okay, some exporters, they sell the proceeds officially to say to a company as official rate. But the other company which is importing, wanted to make use, they pay the balance, the difference outside the banking or outside the transaction, which is actually, it will maintain the gap between the parallel market. And so this is one of the big problems that the government, because there is no government for quite a long time now, for more 4 months, and this is very detrimental. Bad people, they will make sure benefit of this loose
of course
control.
This is actually part of the kind of corruption that was taking place for too many years during the former regime, when the Sudan was under sanctions, to bypass those sanctions.
Yes.
They created, these backdoor channels. And in the process, a lot of people, corrupt people, I must say, benefited a lot of that. They amassed massive wealth. And now these people are coming back again. And one of the reasons, or one of the factors that aid in this, was the fact that the structures of corruption were not dismantled.
Not dismantled?
No, they were not dismantled at all. They were there. And that is why now they are taking advantage of the situation. And because the government is in a dire need of hard currency, and in a dire need to do a lot of things, they will turn a blind eye on most of these malpractices. They know that there are these corrupt practices, but to the extent that they are in need of hard currency, they turn a blind eye to this. And as a matter of fact, some people also start saying that the government itself gets into the black market to buy hard currency because it doesn't have other sources.
No.
So this is not a problem that is just creating itself by inertia. It's a problem that is being orchestrated by the government itself through, first, not combating corruption, second, by it involving itself into some of these malpractices, because the government is in a position to force those traders to deposit the proceeds that they get from exporting things.
Yeah.
But to the extent that some of these exporters are actually government-owned companies, what are you going to do about that?
They can't.
And that is why, there were calls to the effect that government companies should not be allowed to get into the export sector. Because this is one of the reasons why we have this malpractice and corruption in this sector.
So this is very, very, very serious and very bad. It seems like a vicious circle.
Exactly.
You can't break it. You have to break it somehow, but you can't break it without a strong government.
No, that is true. That's true. But again, I think this is all related to the political impasse we are having.
Mm-hmm.
Because when there was a government, when the international community was supporting the government through the international financial institutions, we have seen stabilization.
Yes.
We have felt that the economy is on the right track.
Yeah.
And things started to fall on their places, and as you rightly indicated, some of those who were involved in the currency trade abandoned the sector.
Yeah, they started
because it wasn't lucrative anymore. But now they are back. And again we are into that evil and vicious circle.
Because the gap is very
encouraging. It's growing. Now the difference is like 25%.
Yes.
Between the official and the black market rates.
And
nobody would actually sell their currency to the banking sector to get the official rate when they can do that in the black market.
And also the expatriates nowadays, those who as you correctly said, that at one time they deposited or they transferred about 1.5 billion, which was something
it's huge.
abnormal, huge into that. But now, having this gap between the two prices, I think most of the expatriates from outside, they will not transfer.
Even if they transfer their money through the official channels, they will not take it in pound. They will take it in the same currencies as they transfer it.
Yeah. And
they will sell it in the black market.
The black market.
So the formal economy will not benefit.
Will not benefit, yes. So that's it's something very serious.
Yeah.
And the expatriates are very sensitive to the change in the price, the value of the currency.
Of course, because that's directly related to the prices of basic stuff,
Yes.
Now, when the pounds get weak, prices go up.
Yes.
And they have to maintain this balance, And that's why anyone, even if they send their money through the banking system, when they want to take it out, they will not sell it to the bank.
Yes.
They will take it in hard currency and they will sell it to the black market.
So it will not help the economy.
It won't help the formal economy.
It won't.
It won't. And the problem is very clear. You don't have sources of hard currency. your pound would be weak. It's very simple, you know. This is not a rocket science.
Simple.
Very simple.
And this is also another source of strengthening the economy in the investors, foreign investors.
Of
Like
course,
in many countries,
you know, in the economic theory, FDI or foreign direct investment is one of the key sources of, you know, strengthening the economy. But who would dare to come and invest in Sudan under these circumstances?
So this is
nobody would come, you know, let alone foreigners. Even
Sudanese.
national investors or Sudanese investors would hesitate a lot, you know, to venture into investment projects in these circumstances. So, you know, and that's why I openly characterize what happened by saying that we are shooting our feet. I have to be very honest. We are not in a position to afford being abandoned by the international community. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't. I could see that the government is keen to have this coming back, but to have this coming back requires a lot of things, and I'm not sure that the government is ready to do these things or not.
It is a little bit complex because it involves, to come back, it involves international community to start all over again, to give you the medicine, to give you the help, the needed help. They have got their own conditions. As you see, for immediately after the coup of 25th of October, immediately they closed the valves of the assistance coming to the country.
Yeah.
And since that time, 3 or 4 months, now the effect is people started to get the brunt of the effect. Prices are going up. Not only commodities, even rents. People are suffering from the high prices of rents, transportation.
Now, one of the serious implications of all this is the effect on the civil service.
Civil service.
Regrettably, the government is not doing anything to address this problem. Now, if you look at the salaries civil servants get, you will get surprised. You know, and the direct consequences of this is that the civil service is literally collapsing. It's not functioning.
True.
And then added to this is the fact that the demonstrations that are being continuous all the time since October the 5th last year. You don't have a week without having 1 or 2 demonstrations, and when a demonstration is announced, people simply don't come to work. Even during the days that there are no demonstrations, you cannot force all people to come to work because their salaries are not enough to pay for the transport. You know? And the government is turning a blind eye to this. This is a very serious problem, and to me it's even more serious than the political impasse itself. The civil service is collapsing. And somebody has to take note of this and act.
It's very serious. When you say civil service, one of the most important revenues for the government is the taxation.
Absolutely.
Taxation is a civil service activity. If the civil service fails, this will affect all collection of money.
The government is not in a position to collect revenue. And let us not forget the fact that in sub-Saharan Africa, revenue collection on average represent 15 to 16% of the GDP. In Sudan, it's less than 5%.
Less than 5%.
Which is quite insignificant.
Which is very, very, very serious.
And actually, this was when the civil service was functioning well. Now, with the, you know, dwindling position of the civil service, I think the percentage is getting lower than that. It could be like 3%.
It's very bad. It's very bad.
So you have all these things coming together.
Mix of bad things.
Mix of bad things. And creating a very serious situation
in the country.
In the country.
Okay, all this reminds me of something very important. This cannot be you cannot put the blame on one regime or the recent, the last regime. Since independence, all governments, they failed to do one important thing. Infrastructure. Because if you improve infrastructure, you will improve export. You will encourage investors. Investors, when they come, foreign investors, they ask about the stability first, the country's stability, the infrastructure, telecommunication, roads, railways. Unfortunately, whatever being built in the previous year, before 1989, before the Salvation regime, there are some, the railway and Jadira was there, and textile and milling factories. There were now, during the 30 years of the Salvation, the whole infrastructure was calculatedly destructed, completely damaged. First, the Jadira scheme, as you know, Jadira scheme and its accessories like the irrigation, like the earth moving equipment, also, and they have a railway. Okay, railways, Sudan Railways, Sudan Railways, which used to be the carrier, the cheap carrier for goods and people, also completely abandoned and left and neglected. Sudan Shipping Line, Sudan Airways, all aspects of the infrastructure were damaged, incalculated. I don't know why, but this definitely affect and will affect.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that is also one of the reasons why investors are not encouraged to come, because as you rightly said, investors look for security and good infrastructure. Unfortunately, we don't have any one of these. With security, of course, we all know the country is having serious problems, and the Juba peace agreement is not going well, plus other threats, and the whole political setup is actually quite discouraging. Infrastructure is as bad, because although the former regime loyalists brag about bridges and all of this, but this is nonsense, because all these were done in the major cities that have nothing to bear on the actual infrastructure that's supportive of investment. You know, the only major road that was completed during the former regime was the Ringaz al-Gharbi, but it took them 20 years to do it. You know, the Ringaz al-Gharbi started 1992 and it was completed 2013, so 20 years, and a lot of damage has already been done during the 2 decades that the road should have been completed. You know, and some people said actually the delay of completing that road was one of the reasons for the rebellion in Darfur, because people felt that they were cheated, people felt they were, you know, not taken seriously, and all of that. So infrastructure is one of the key determinants to investment and to economic development of the country. There's no question about the necessity of having a good and credible infrastructure. And of course, with this also comes political will, you know, and this has been lacking since independence.
Yeah, infrastructure is another important factor. Of course, you know how many neighboring countries to Sudan are landlocked. They don't have access. If people, they thought of having infrastructure connecting the heart, the center to the borders, different borders, with a network of railways and roads, this could have made a big change in Port Sudan. The port, it could have been one of the biggest ports, because it could have served at least 6 countries landlocked. They don't have access. Like, for example, if you talk about Chad and Niger, they come all the way from the Atlantic, from Ghana.
Absolutely. You have Chad, you have Niger, you have Central African Republic, you have Ethiopia, you have South Sudan. You know, so Sudan could have been actually, you know, it could have really benefited a lot from, you know, linking these countries through infrastructure and all of that. And the port would have served all these countries that are landlocked. Actually, Ethiopia is still benefiting from Port Sudan. And Chad, you know, Chad is also one of the countries that are benefiting from Port Sudan. So, if you have a railway and roads, you know,
That's happening to Kenya. You know, Kenya they just did what they connected their borders by network of railways and roads. This gave them the advantage to import from South Africa.
Of course.
Somebody told me that in South of Sudan they import the vegetables and fruits of South Africa through Kenya.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Kenyans, they manage to have infrastructure good because they have access to the Pacific Ocean by the Mombasa. They have some coastal areas, but still they built infrastructure which is conducive to the import and export activities of the different countries. This in Sudan is completely now neglected.
Absolutely, but again, this actually takes us back to the question of political stability.
Yes.
Because if you don't have political stability in the country,
you cannot build anything.
You cannot build anything. You know, we're talking about a country that has been at war with itself since 1956.
Yes.
You know, of course, we have the interval of 10 years from 1972 to 83, but that is nothing compared to the rest of the period. You know.
Yes.
So you have civil wars, political instability. You have a very selfish political elite that has ruled the country since independence. And we have now seeing this happening right now, you know, after a great revolution that changed the last regime. We are back again to that evil circle.
We're coming very fast to the bad spot.
Absolutely.
The vicious circle, which is very well. You know, also one of the side effects or the important effects of the loose governance now, which we are having now, together with which was revealed by the blockage of the barricading of the north. We heard or we read in the newspaper that even the money bought by the Egyptian merchants or traders, some of it was fake and counterfeit money. Counterfeit, yeah, it's adding insult to injury. It's not coming through the right channels, and the money itself, the money, Sudanese money, they buy in Sudanese currency.
Yeah, that was what I was saying.
This is what was revealed by the blockage of the North lifeline, the North. This is very serious and very bad and very sad.
It is, and ironically also the blockage or the people who were behind it, they spotted a lot of smuggled, you know, things and livestock, and they stopped that. So one wonders, people are keen to stop smuggling, and the government is not. And you really wonder what's going on.
This will lead to.
Yeah, I know.
This is very important. Okay, Professor. Now having just had an idea about this situation. Situation now in Sudan, everybody from top to everybody is feeling something will definitely happen. It cannot go like this. Or as the English they say, it can only get better. Because it reached
it can't be worse than this.
It can't be worse than this. It can only get better. Because now the situation is at the effect of the economy. Now we are having some people in the streets, these resistance committees, definitely without calling them, some people will join. Those who are really suffering from the hardship of standard of living. When they feel that they cannot buy, they cannot go to their offices, or their kids, they cannot go to school, or they cannot have their things will be very, very serious and very dreadful. This will be very dreadful, I think. People, but why people are unaware of this situation? This will be very catastrophic.
Well, I think yes, the situation is very catastrophic. And yesterday I was reading one of the papers where the Minister of Finance admitted that the 2022 budget is collapsing. That they are forced to borrow from the banking sector, which means that they are going to print notes, which means inflation is going to increase, which means the pound is going down, you know, more than what we thought. And this is a very dangerous situation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether the government is cognizant of this or not, but we are going down in a very fast manner. And in the paper that I read yesterday, the Minister of Finance was saying that they have serious problems to be able to pay for the expenses of March this month.
This March. They cannot pay.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yes, sure.
The Undersecretary of the Minister of Finance, he was admitting very serious things, very scary things, and yet you don't see any settlement in the horizon. The political interlocutors are still ducking behind their positions. The military is saying that the civilians need to get their act together, and to me this is not realistic, not reasonable at all. It's not going to happen. So there need to be an alternative way of addressing this problem. The responsibility is, of course, on the side of those who are in power. You know, you cannot blame those who don't have power and exonerate yourself. Mm-hmm. You are the one in a position to take decisions. You are the one in a position to think in alternative pathways so that the country is able to get out of this political impasse. I could see that the UNITAMS is doing something. It just came out with a report. But what is discouraging is that the UNITAMS and the AU don't seem to be working together or in harmony, because the AU is criticizing UNITAMS, mm-hmm. and the AU is in fact doing nothing. So I fail to understand their position. They disappeared for 2 years. They're not doing anything credible.
The African Union.
Yes, yeah. And they're blaming UNITAMS for what it's doing. This is very, very so you wonder what's going on, and I think this is not helpful at all. I think we as Sudanese should not really wait a lot for the internationals, for whether the UN or the AU. We have to take this on our shoulders. We have been following a lot of initiatives, like the University Vice Chancellor's initiative, the Martyrs Family initiative, and a lot of initiatives that are floating around. Unfortunately, these are too scattered, and they need to come together. And I really fail to understand why all these different initiatives don't come together. Because as far as you can see, there are a lot of commonalities that can be worked out. You know, come together, look at what brings you together, look at the commonalities, and then try to do something about the differences. But the way these initiatives are going on, I don't think they're going to.
It's not. They are not
to get anywhere.
Anywhere.
No.
It seems that, yes, to me, I agree with you. It seems that it's not taking us anywhere. Okay, another issue about one of the economy is directly coupled with the politics, the economy. And as you know, there are schools of economics like the communists, the capitalists, the different, the mixed Islamic, which was introduced first by the regime of Nimeri and then taken all the way by the Salvation, these Islamic systems. So, do you think there any for Sudan? Sudan is a unique country. What kind of economy can we adopt? Private sector, like what can we do?
Well, I think we shouldn't be an exception. Mm-hmm. Let's just look around us and look around the world. What's going on? What's happening? We don't have to be, you know,
private sector.
Of course. You have private sector. You have free market economy.
Yes.
Some people would call it the neoliberal political system because it's a package. And for the Islamic system, I think we have a serious problem here, because I do remember that the former President Bashir was quoted publicly saying that what we have is not an Islamic economy. We don't have an Islamic system.
We don't have a standard economy.
No, we don't. Because if you look at the interest rate they levy, they are worse than the conventional.
The worse, yes.
Absolutely. So, and of course, this will also bring us back to the debate that has been going on with the so-called FFC Economic Committee, that was at a certain point completely opposing the measures that were taken by the Prime Minister and his Finance Minister to, you know, go along the international financial institutions, directions. But unfortunately, I don't see any other alternative.
No alternative.
No, it's not easy, you know. And we have seen the impact of going through these lines. The stabilization in the pound, the inflation was stabilizing and coming down. Of course, some people would rightly say that this has negatively affected the poor segments of the society, which is true. But that is the price you have to pay to have an stable economy. You know, you may need some time, you may need a few years, but then you will be on the right track. And we have seen this in Egypt.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
Egypt, of course, Egypt is a different story. It got a lot of support from the international institutions. It got a lot of support from the Gulf countries, so like Sudan. But then it follows steps, and the economy in Egypt now is more or less stable. The Egyptian pound has been stable for the past 8 years.
Yes, yes, it is stable.
So that is why I'm saying that we should not really think of ourselves as an exception or a different case. You know, you cannot turn a blind eye to some of the success stories and duck behind, you know, all the slogans that are not working anymore.
Yes.
You know, and that is why the Prime Ministers, Hamdok and his Finance Minister, were saying that yes, these were tough measures, but we believe this is the right path for the economy. For the poor segment of the society, we will have this family support program. It might not be enough, the kind of money that they are paying out, but still it is something. So I am not in favor of having these binaries, Islamic versus traditional. Let us just see what's going around us, what other countries are doing with regard to the economy, and then adopt it.
Okay, I come also, I remember that I come to a very important issue which is right in the middle of your domain, which is also connected with what is happening in Sudan now, or what happened in Sudan. I mean about Juba peace agreement of October 2020.
Right.
Almost 2 years or less than 2 years, but 2020. What is your general evaluation to the agreement? Did it solve the problem, or did it add more burden to the government? Because it involves a lot of issues which need money, which need money. Just give us about this.
Unfortunately, Juba Peace Agreement created a whole lot, you know, problems than solving any one of those problems. It actually added to the already existing problems. And I'm saying this looking at what's happening in Darfur. Because most of the deadly events that happened in Darfur happened after the signing of the Juba Peace Agreement. We have also seen that the process of security arrangements was very much delayed.
Till now,
Till now, it really didn't start the way it should start. The Juba Agreement also created problems in the east. We have seen the blockage.
The east, yes, the blockage of the, yes.
You see. So, unfortunately, Juba Peace Agreement brought with it a lot of problems, a lot of challenges, a lot of complications. I'm not really worried about the financial part of it, because if the political situation is stable, there will be possibilities for financing the implementation of the agreement. There will always be possibilities, you know. But because the political situation itself is not good, the agreement is in a bad shape, and we have seen this.
You have created.
Yeah.
Okay, Professor. Also, we have to talk about the greenery. Look at the Sudan, the areas of Sudan. Look at this green. Sudan is just unfortunate that government did not pay to this very dear resource, one of the resources. Let leave the underground, the minerals. Just we have the water, which will be, as people they say, you know, this are specialized in the conflict. Water resources will be one of the conflicts of the future between people, because there will be some scarcity in water. We have water, we are not using our quota in the Nile, and we have the land which is not utilized and not cultivated till now. So this is something very sad.
Well, again, this Omar brings us to the very sad fact that what we have is a political problem. We have huge resources, we have land resources, we have water resources, we have minerals, we have everything. But we are not making use of this because of our political impasse and political problem.
The problem, okay.
When you have a country that has been in conflict with itself for 5 decades, I don't think we should expect something different from what we are having, you see. And again, it's very sad that after a very successful and a very beautiful revolution, we thought that the country is now in the right track. We are back again into the evil circle, We are back again into the evil circle. We are back again to be a pariah state. We are back again, to be boycotted by international community. And the effect of this has already been
and not only this, Professor,
felt.
because also people, the FAO, Food Organization of the United Nations, is talking about acute shortage of food in the globe. This will have the side effect of people being displaced, not only by wars. People there, they move by war, they move by a shortage of food. And when we have this, we have this resource. This is very important thing. Is it not very shameful and very sad that we are not making this full advantage? Because we used to tell us that Sudan, one of the countries which used to be the bread basket.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, the bread basket is very empty.
Very empty.
And now the crisis in Ukraine is going to have further implications because much of the wheat that is being imported comes from Russia and Ukraine, I think, with the exception of the amounts that were given to Sudan by the United States over the past few months. And I also saw that there is going to be an imminent food problem in the country.
In the country?
Yeah. That's also one of the very sad realities that we have to live with.
Well, Ukraine, as you said, yes, Ukraine is also the main source, our main source of wheat. For wheat.
Yeah.
And it supplies 30% of the oil, the petrol to the globe. So you think that this war in Ukraine, we could feel it?
Of course.
We could feel it here?
You already see that oil prices are going up.
Even here in Sudan.
Of course, because now our oil prices are connected directly with international prices. And I think yesterday the Minister of Energy has came up with a new price for
new
food.
Prices, very high prices, almost
for
double. And even in America, they have people, my kids here in America, they told me that the prices are going up day by day.
That's right.
Of the oil. So the Ukrainian problem, which will affect definitely Sudan, it will hard hit Sudan in the availability of wheat, which is bread. And now people are talking about the high cost of the bread. And the bakeries, they are talking about
increasing the prices.
Increasing the prices.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's very...
No, the situation is quite serious. It's very alarming. And I do hope something comes up very quickly. Else we are actually heading into a very serious direction.
So we'll be in deep trouble. So we have to be careful. The Ukrainian issue. We have to be very careful and very diplomatic. And we have to take the correct side.
Absolutely.
We don't have to...
You don't have to align yourself.
Repeat the same mistake of
1990.
Saddam.
Yeah.
When Saddam invaded Kuwait, we took the right step and we suffered a lot.
That's right.
God saved Sudan by the oil.
Right.
But now we don't have oil. We don't have any oil.
We don't have
oil. Okay, thank you, Professor, for this 1 hour with the viewers in this very hot issue, although it's something dreadful. Anyhow, we hope things will go to the better, and we hope things will move, and Sudan will get back to stability. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in the last hour. We hope to see you next week in another issue in Dialogue Horizon. Thank you and bye.